All right, get ready for this one because we're diving deep into brain science today.
Oh, yeah.
A brand new study that could totally change how we see social behavior,
Wow.
especially stuff like autism and schizophrenia.
Really?
I'm talking big stuff here, and you know I love a good science mystery.
Absolutely.
So we've got this news article about a study saying how much we enjoy hanging out with people.
Mm-hmm.
It could all come down to one single gene
Interesting.
and the size of a specific part of our brain. You ready to jump in?
I'm ready.
Okay, so this gene they're talking about is called Tbx1.
Tbx1.
I know, not a very exciting name,
Right.
but it's a really big deal.
Oh, yeah.
You're the expert here, so what's so important about this Tbx1 gene?
Well, it's like Tbx1 is like this master architect
Okay.
during how our brains develop.
Uh-huh.
It's on chromosome 22,
Okay.
and it's super important in how our brains get built,
Interesting.
especially with stem cells, you know?
Yeah, those are like
Stem cells are like the raw materials.
the building blocks, right?
Yeah, and Tbx1 is like the instruction manual,
Gotcha.
telling them what they should turn into.
So if something's wrong with those instructions, things could get messed up.
Yeah, exactly.
Like if there's a typo in the Tbx1 gene, what happens then?
That's what the researchers are looking at.
Okay.
They found that variations in Tbx1,
Mm-hmm.
like extra copies or missing parts,
Huh.
are linked to neurodevelopmental conditions
But
like autism and schizophrenia.
right, where people can have a hard time with social stuff.
Exactly.
Wow, so this one little gene could have a huge impact.
It could?
The article said they actually made mice
Mice.
without the Tbx1 gene
Oh, wow.
to study how it worked.
I see.
What did they do with these,
Less social mice.
less social mice?
They put them through a bunch of tests.
Okay.
Like brain scans.
Right.
And behavioral experiments.
Okay.
One of the most interesting things they found
Yeah.
was that these mice, without Tbx1, had smaller amygdalas.
A smaller what?
Amygdala.
Amygdala.
Compared to regular mice.
Okay, hold on. For anyone who hasn't taken a brain anatomy class recently,
Right.
what exactly is the amygdala?
It's like your brain's emotional center,
Okay.
especially for fear and anxiety.
Fear and anxiety.
And it's really important
Yeah.
in how we process social cues.
Okay.
So a smaller amygdala could mean
What?
your brain isn't reacting to social situations the same way.
Wait, so a smaller amygdala means you're less interested in, like, other mice in this case.
Yeah.
That's like saying a part of your brain can decide
Kind of.
how much you want to go to that party everyone's talking about.
It's a good analogy.
That's crazy.
And that's what the researchers saw.
So they actually
They did an experiment where mice could choose
choose what?
to hang out with another mouse or be by themselves.
Alone. Yeah.
The regular mice were all about being social.
Makes sense.
But the mice without Tbx1,
Yeah.
not so much.
Really?
They were way more interested in other things,
Oh, like what?
like what kind of bedding they had.
Really? The betting?
Yeah.
This whole idea of a social incentive
Hmm.
being driven by a gene?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Does that mean some people are just, like, born to be less social?
It's not that simple.
Okay.
Remember, we're talking about complex stuff.
Right.
Interactions between genes, brain development,
Uh-huh.
and individual experiences, you know.
Right, right.
But this study says that Tbx1
Yeah.
might be tuning that social reward feeling.
The feeling of reward from socializing.
Exactly.
So we've got this gene, Tbx1, influencing how the amygdala develops,
Yeah.
which then could be affecting how much we enjoy hanging out with people or
Yeah.
don't enjoy it.
Right.
Now that we've got the basics down,
Yeah.
let's switch gears in part 2
Okay.
and talk about what this means for humans,
That's the big question.
especially people with conditions like autism and schizophrenia.
Sounds good. Now that we know this little Tbx1 gene could have this big impact on your social life,
Right.
let's look at what it means
Mhm.
for conditions like autism
Yeah.
and schizophrenia.
Right, where social interaction.
Yeah, where it can be a real struggle.
It's a big deal.
It is. This research opens up some really interesting possibilities
Okay.
because people with autism and schizophrenia
Mhm.
often have a tough time with social interaction.
Right.
And this study is saying variations in that Tbx1 gene could be a part of it.
Leading to that smaller amygdala.
Exactly, that smaller amygdala.
So are you saying we could look at the size of someone's amygdala and, like,
Well,
predict how much they'd enjoy a party or something?
it's not quite that straightforward.
Okay.
But this idea of the amygdala's size
Yeah.
as a biomarker is really interesting.
A biomarker, what's that?
It's basically,
sign.
yeah, a measurable sign
Okay.
of something happening in the body.
Okay, so
In this case,
yeah.
a smaller amygdala could be a sign
Of what?
that someone might need extra help
What?
navigating social situations.
That makes sense. But how would that even work? Are we talking about, like,
Whoa.
giving everyone brain scans?
It's not about scanning everybody,
Okay.
but imagine if we could tell
Yeah.
who might need help,
Right.
even before there are any clear signs.
That's early intervention, right?
Exactly.
It's so important.
It is. The earlier we help,
Yeah.
the better the chances for good outcomes.
Okay, so we might be able to spot these differences early on, but
Yeah.
what about actually,
Doing something about it.
doing something? The article mentioned
Oh, yeah.
that scientists are working on ways to actually
To manipulate Tbx1 activity.
manipulate. Wow, that sounds like sci-fi.
It is cutting edge.
That's crazy.
They're developing techniques
Okay.
to either increase or reduce Tbx1 activity.
At different points in development.
Yes, both during the embryonic phase
Hold on, are we talking about, like,
and later on.
changing genes before someone's even born?
It's a possibility.
That seems ethically.
You're right. Any sort of genetic manipulation
Yeah.
comes with ethical stuff.
Big ethical questions.
We need to be super careful
Yeah.
and talk openly about the potential benefits and risks.
Right.
But imagine if we knew exactly when TBX1 is most important for the amygdala to develop.
Right.
Maybe we could even stop those changes from happening.
Happening at all.
Yeah, in the first place.
That's mind-blowing. But how do they change gene activity like that?
Well,
It's not like they can just...
they can't just go in there with a screwdriver.
Right. It's not that simple.
Not quite, but it's not magic either.
So what do?
They use things like viral vectors.
Viral vectors, what are those?
Think of them like tiny delivery trucks
Okay.
that carry genetic material into cells.
Wow.
It's super precise.
And
And it's opening up so many possibilities.
it's like we're learning
It is.
to rewrite the instruction manual.
It is. For brain development.
We have to be really careful, though, right?
Absolutely.
We're talking about shaping someone's brain here.
We are. And potentially their entire social life.
Wow.
Ethical stuff is super important here.
Yeah.
We need to make sure
Right.
any changes we make
Yeah.
are made with the long-term consequences in mind.
The long-term consequences.
And that this technology is used responsibly.
Right.
And that everyone can access it.
This is a lot to think about.
It is.
We've got this potential biomarker.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about maybe changing genes.
Yeah.
It feels like we're on the edge of something huge.
It does.
But before we get too far ahead of ourselves,
Yeah.
let's take a step back in part 3
Okay.
and really think about what this all means.
The big picture.
The big picture, both the good stuff
Yeah.
and the ethical challenges.
I agree. This research brings up some big questions
Yeah.
about who we are
Right.
and how our brains shape how we see the world.
Let's dive into those deeper questions. So we've gone from one gene to potentially rewiring the brain.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Some really advanced science here.
Absolutely.
But before we end,
Yeah.
let's step back and look at the bigger picture.
Okay.
What could this all mean for the future?
Well, this research opens up so many possibilities.
Yeah, like what?
Imagine being able to tell
Mm-hmm.
which kids might struggle socially
Right?
even before they start school. Just by looking at their genes and brain structure,
So we could
we
say-
could give them support early on.
Yeah, like targeted support.
Exactly. And maybe even change those outcomes completely
So we're talking about
Yeah.
going from treating problems
after they appear.
to actually stopping them before they even start.
It's like personalized medicine for social behavior.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
We could look at someone's Tbx1 gene, their amygdala size,
Right.
and say, okay, this is what this person needs.
To thrive socially. It could change everything,
Yeah.
especially for autism and schizophrenia.
Right, where social challenges are so common.
It's a big deal.
This is all so hopeful.
It is.
But I have to say,
Yeah.
a part of me feels a little uneasy.
I understand.
Like, are we getting too close to,
To playing God.
yeah, playing God with the brain?
That's a natural feeling.
Yeah.
We can't ignore these ethical questions.
Right.
We need to be so careful with this technology.
Absolutely. Like, where's the line?
Exactly.
If we can change genes to help someone socialize,
Mhm.
what's to stop us from using it to
Yeah.
boost everyone's social skills?
That's a good question.
Should we even be doing that?
These are the conversations we need to be having.
As a society,
Yeah,
this tech has huge potential,
it does.
but we need to be open and honest
Absolutely.
about the ethical side of things.
We need to think about,
The consequences?
yeah, long-term consequences, unintended effects,
Unintended effects, right?
and make sure everyone has access to it.
This whole deep dive has been a wild ride.
It has.
From these amazing discoveries
Yeah.
to these big ethical questions.
It really makes you think.
But for me, the main takeaway is that understanding the brain is really about understanding what makes us human.
I completely agree.
As we learn more about how our brains work.
Yeah.
Those big questions.
About free will, choices, the human experience.
It just gets more interesting.
Absolutely.
This research says our genes might affect how much we enjoy being social, which is pretty wild.
It is.
But it doesn't mean our fate is set in stone.
Not at all. We still have the power to learn, grow, connect.
To connect with others in meaningful ways.
It's amazing.
It's a dance between nature and nurture.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Our genes give us a blueprint.
The starting point.
But it's our experiences, choices, the connections we make
that shape who we become.
This deep dive has taken us through so much.
It really has.
The brain, scientific discoveries, ethical challenges.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that we're still learning.
That's the exciting part.
And there's always more to explore.
Absolutely. What a journey it's been.
Yeah.
It's never been a more exciting time to be studying the human brain.
Stay curious.
Keep asking questions.
And who knows what we'll discover next.
That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.